Hello chess lovers, Student here, and in this video I want to share with you another very aggressive attacking game played by the 8th World Chess Champion Mikhail. In this game Tal's opponent is Swedish chess grandmaster Lars Karlsson. The game was played in 1980 in Yerevan. Yerevan is the capital city of Armenia, and right now from Yerevan I will cover this game for you. In this game Tal had white pieces and he opened up with e4, to which Karlsson answered with French defense e6. By the way, I have to tell you that Karlsson would earn Grandmaster title only 2 years later. Meanwhile, this is year 1980. Knight c3, bishop b4, Winawer variation is on the board, e5 advanced variation, queen d7. Black is going for Petrosian variation, and by putting the queen on the 7th rank already to queen g4, Black can answer with f5. Although Tal chose a different line and he played knight f3, b6, bishop d2, bishop f8, Black decided to keep alive his dark squared bishop, which can cover essential squares on the king side, bishop a6. And on the other hand, Black is offering the exchange of light squared bishops, which of course favors Black because this bishop in French defense is considered to be the worst piece in Black's camp. As the pawns are placed on the light squares, they are hindering the activity of this bishop. White castled kingside c6. This looks already a bit dubious. A move like c5 seems to be more energetic try. A year later, in a game played between Jan Timon and Tigran Petrosian, this was the move which Petrosian made. Instead, we see c6. Bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, knight e2. White is now transferring his knight to the king side, where it can be very useful when organizing the attack. Rook c1, White wants to play c4, and Black stopped it with b5. Rook e1, h6. Black is playing very cautiously, and by preventing a move like knight g5 is creating further weaknesses. c5 is still a good alternative. Instead we see h6, queen e2. Tal is first pinning this pawn and then wants to go for a4, although according to Stockfish, playing a4 straight away is also playable. Knight c8, and only now we see a4. Knight c7, a takes b5, c takes b5, rook a1. Tal is first taking under control the semi-open a file and then is proceeding with the attack. Knight d3, king f8. Of course you can't castle kingside because you will lose your pawn on h6, that's why Black is castling by hand. The downside of which is that this is a time-consuming idea, and meanwhile White is proceeding with the attack in hope of creating further weaknesses in Black's kingside. Knight b6, knight h2, knight c4, bishop c1. When organizing the attack, this bishop can be very useful. That's why Tal is keeping it alive. a5, knight g4, knight e8, b3, knight b6, bishop e3. At this point Tal is missing a very impressive destructive combination. Actually he could go for h takes g6 and then he could capture on h6. Black has no chance of surviving, and then queen g4 followed by knight f4. In the game we see bishop e3, g takes h5, knight h2, king f8. In hope of finding a safe shelter for his king, Black is leaving this pawn unprotected, and then White is winning it. a4. In return, Black is hopelessly trying to organize a counterplay on the queen side, and now let's see who will be faster. King g8, bishop takes g7. White is removing that defender and then is switching his rook into the attack from the 3rd rank. Rook h7, securing the h8 square for the king. B takes a4, b takes a4, knight c5, queen c6. The bishop is covering very essential squares, that's why it's not good to go for an exchange. Rook g3 check, king h8, knight f3. It's time for activating this knight as well. Queen e8, knight g5, bishop takes g5. Once Black is losing this bishop, already Black's kingside goes down very quickly. At this point, rook g7 can allow Black to put tougher resistance, although even in this case there is not much hope of saving the game. White can go for the exchange of queens and then can win this pawn, And seems like that with 2 extra pawns, white will manage to realize the advantage pretty easily. Let's go back in the game to knight g5. We see bishop takes g5 answer, queen takes g5. Rook takes g5 is also playable and is even stronger, but this is also winning. Rook g7, another bad move by Karlsson. As you know, for the attacker it's always good to get rid of opponent's defensive pieces, and allowing that voluntarily is simply suicidal, you know. Rook takes g7, king takes g7, rook a3. This time Tal is switching his second rook into the attack. h4 stopping rook g3, but this time black is surrendering the g4 square, king f8, and at this point, as we have reached the critical position, you can pause the video and try to find Tal's final blow. Ready? Of course, looks like that even this simple rook f3 is allowing white to win, but Tal made the most precise move, and here we go. A destructive knight takes e6 move is on the board. F takes e6, after which the queenside rook is joining the attack with a check. King e8. Well, if king e7 protecting the pawn, then you will get checkmate hit in 2 moves. There we have it. Black king is getting checkmate hit. Black played king e8 but lost the pawn on e6. Queen e7, queen takes b6, and at this point we have a resignation. Right now, queen c6 can be a nice threat, and if rook c8, then queen b5 check, and then queen takes d5. Yes, this exposed king has no chance of surviving. If here, then rook f7, and if queen d7, then rook f8 check, and then rook f7. Again, black is losing his queen. That's why after queen takes b6, Karlsson resigned. Another irresistible attack by Mikhail, which I hope that you enjoyed greatly. For those who are facing French defense too often, this game can serve a very nice lesson. In the end, a chess puzzle for you where the task is to find the winning line for white. It's white to move, and as usual, we'll wait for your answers in the comment section. Feel free to check out my early uploads as well. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.